Hello and namaste, and welcome to What's in a Word. This is our brand new, unique series where we're going to be delving into the origins and background of certain everyday common English words that we use when talking about or explaining Hindu Dharmas. I'm Samir Kalra, one of the managing directors at HAF, and today it's my honor and privilege to be joined by my incredibly knowledgeable and smart colleague and someone who has a very dry sense of humor, HAF's Director of Education, Dr. Vijay Satnarine. Welcome, Vijay.
Namaste, Samir.
Today, Vijay, we're going to be talking about the word worship. So when I look up the definition of worship on Google, the first thing that comes up is the definition in the Oxford Dictionary, which says, show reverence and adoration for a deity or honor with religious rites. Vijay, can you tell us where the word worship originates from?
That's a wonderful definition, and it definitely encapsulates how we think of the word worship in common parlance. But if we dig a little bit deeper and we go down into the history, we'll find that the word worship originates from Old English, and it is talking about something that is worthy of receiving adulation or respect. But we forget that England was a deeply Christian country, and there is a liturgical layer of meanings that needs to be added to it, which happens around in the 13th century, where it means showing adoration to God or to the Eucharist, which is the Holy Communion that would take place during Mass.
All right. See, everyone, I told you he was smart. I have no idea what he just said, but I think it made sense. Vijay, we often use the word worship as a translation for puja. Why is that incorrect, or why should we avoid using that translation?
That's a really good question. It's linked right back to this church usage of the word worship. In Christian understanding, worship should be given to God alone. And if you do not worship what is considered God according to the Bible, then you're ostensibly worshiping the devil or are heathen, or you're worshiping idols, or you're a polytheist. Any of the markers that show that you are a pagan and someone that needs to be converted to the right way of thinking. So, of course, we live in the modern world. We do not subscribe to those things anymore. And if we continue to use the word worship to describe something in Sanskrit that's called puja or archana, then we're actually doing a disservice to the meaning of the word puja or archana, because there is no such distinction between the right way and the wrong way in terms of discriminating people from one group to another. So it's inaccurate, but it also carries a lot of historical baggage to continue using the word worship, even though for the majority of English speakers around the world, it's not such a major concern. But as soon as you go into dealing with people who have a little bit more knowledge of their belief systems, etc., it can leave us feeling a little bit heatheny, and I'm not too sure that we need to carry around that baggage today.
Well, my wife definitely calls me a heathen and a caveman, so I guess for me that would be appropriate. But more seriously, if we don't use worship, what is an alternative or better word that we could use instead of that? And why do you think that is the best word to use?
Well, when the missionaries came to India, they translated Sanskrit words as the basis of their worldview, and that for them was the Bible. But nowadays we have science, we have linguistics, we have deep studies into the written word and to the meanings of words. And so using linguistics, the science that explains how language is used, we can really come up with a scientific and a more precise way of conveying the intention of the Sanskrit words puja, which comes from the Sanskrit dhatu, or the root form puj, and the same with archana. Both of those convey a sense of gratitude, respect, or honor. And so if you were to look for a one word or a phrase that translates puja or archana correctly, I would say that it is simply veneration, or showing respect, or showing gratitude, depending on the context. Of course, if you're talking about a car puja, you're using it more in the sense of a Vahana Puja, which is, of course, blessing the vehicle or consecrating the vehicle, or even bringing around good vibes for this new vehicle. So context sensitive, but still pretty easy.
Wow, that's pretty eye-opening, Vijay. And I think for many people, we just take things for granted and just kind of use certain words. But when you really break it down like that, I think it makes a lot of sense and will help us to better articulate our practices and our beliefs. So, with that, that brings us to the end of our very first episode. And stay tuned for many more to come. Vijay, can you talk a little bit about some of the next words that we're going to be delving into in our next series?
Indeed, the often favorite used words of idol, of gods, of sacrifice, all of these words we're going to try and play around a little bit with to see what the science says about these words.
Great. Thank you so much, Vijay, for joining me today. And namaste to everyone. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.